Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, you know the drill. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Ampire Media, Ampire. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget you can read my work on ESPN.com. I'll have a story up at some point this week, I believe, about the second year for Jaden Daniels and talking to a bunch of coaches at the owners' meetings about what's important in helping the quarterback progress from year one to year two, building off the kind of year he had, knowing what defenses are going to try and look at him and how they're going to try and quote unquote solve him. I don't think they can solve him. It's not that easy, but just some tips from coaches who have been through this. So, anyways, look for that. That should be out later this week, but I'll let you know. Anyway, also for you gold members, I'm going to be doing a private Zoom with Craig Hoffman from the Team 980 at 7:30 Eastern time on Thursday night. So join me there. Look for the link later this week. In a minute, I'll be joined by Tress Way, of course, the Washington Commanders punter. Wanted to have Tress on, kind of playing off a conversation he had with Grant and Danny on 106.7. And part of it was about his adopted son, what he went through during the playoff run, but also kind of getting an update on him now, but also more on Tress. And I think you're going to enjoy a lot of what he had to say about how different it is out there. I think you know that, but he gives you some more details and just always a good conversation with Tress. One of the more enjoyable guys I've covered just because he's just a guy that embraces life unlike few that I've met. So anyways, stay tuned for that. Also, just another little programming update. I'm going to be talking to ESPN's Matt Miller, a draft analyst. I'm going to run a couple of segments throughout the next couple of weeks about making the case for defensive ends, making the case for a cornerback or a receiver or a running back with that first pick in particular. So, and Bram and I will be on there kind of making a case and then having Matt fill in the blanks about like, here are the players you need to watch at this spot in the draft, and just a lot of good information from Matt about all those the players, the positions, etc. So stay tuned for that. We'll be starting that on Tuesday. So, anyways, that's it for me. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Washington Commanders punter Tress Way. Well, first of all, Tress, it's good to see you, and I know you guys will be ramping up stuff here pretty soon. How good did it feel for you to be able to come back here?
Yeah, that man, that was a crazy circumstance. I've never been in that position, thankfully my whole career here where you're going into the last year of your deal and after that season is done, it being a unrestricted free agent of like, well, what happens next? And then the dynamic of wanting to come back like so badly and it's kind of a cool story. I haven't shared this. I'm sure Coach and AP wouldn't mind me sharing it, but I would assume they took the time to meet with just about all the upcoming free agents and, just kind of got to talk with them a little bit. And so they invited me up to the office and I walked in to see DQ and AP and just didn't know what was going to happen in that meeting. I was just excited to talk with them one more time before the off season, and they actually told me to my face right there that they were going to bring me back. And I consider myself, to be one of the tougher punters out there. I think when people see me, they're like, this guy's really, really tough. I cried my eyes out. I was very, very thankful and just overwhelmed, obviously, with emotion to just get a chance to come back. So.
Why did it hit you that hard?
I think because I think because this was an entire new regime, coaching staff, everything, like from top to bottom. And I think one of the things that you have to respect about the NFL is that the guys who make the decisions and the coaches who coach the players, at the end of the day, they are going to take the guys that they want and that they believe can keep like moving the team forward to win a championship. And you just don't ever know if you are that guy, especially whenever your contract is going to be up. And so I really wanted to be that guy. I just so thankful to have seen such a special year in the first year, a new GM, new coaching staff, over half the new locker room. I forget the percentage on what it was. And I just enjoyed it so much and wanted to be a part of what was going to happen, keep happening moving forward. So it was just out of just sheer desire that it was out of relief. Like when that emotion hit me, it was just out of relief.
Do you think that the pass in the playoffs sealed the deal for you here?
I think that it didn't hurt. It was like, oh man, he can pass. All
They
right,
like
here we
versatile players.
I know that actually when I got up to AP and DQ, that was the first thing that they had said was they were just like, man, what a sweet pass that was. But then something that was cool too, just in that meeting with them, something I just love about those guys that makes it impossible just not to love and respect them is that I think they just mentioned my punting probably 20% of the time, and the other 80% of the time was off the field stuff or on the field stuff, but competitor, emotional, like whatever. It was very. I'll remember that meeting the rest of my life. So it was special.
That's different.
Yeah, it is. Everything is so like John. Everything is so intentional and so competitive. It's a special place, man.
It's funny because people ask me like, "Oh, it's like night and day." I said, "Night and day doesn't describe the change." To me, like what's happened in that building with this organization, it's hard to say it's just night and day because it feels like it's more like I said, it's almost like the difference between the sun and the moon. Like as far as how different it is, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think that the times like, and I'm very fortunate that now for three coaches, and then including Coach Callahan when he took over, that I've had a great relationship with all four coaches that I've had, and I feel like with certain coaches, probably in every sport in every level, like you hope to have like a certain culture and a certain competitiveness and like trust and like all these different things, and it is like a crazy competitive humility that you just see from DQ and AP of like almost like hey, we want you to like think and act and be this way because watch us and this is how we operate. And so I think it is a awesome circle that just keeps going around where the lead guys who can keep like everybody accountable, like good luck thinking that you could correct them on something of just the standard and the consistency that they kind of are day in and day out.
And the competition's up for you. Like, how does it manifest itself? Because they're not like it's not like they're bringing in guys all the time for you. So how do they make it competitive for you?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I hope to kind of pride myself on and like the identity that I have on the field is um is that I'm one of 11 guys out there, and just about every single time I don't block anybody, snap the ball, or tackle anybody. So, like, I get to be a part of a unit where I go out and do my one job, and I get to depend almost the entire play, which it takes about 2 seconds to get a punt off. So, those are my 2 seconds. And then, however long the entire play lasts, like, I'm relying on some of my best friends and my buddies out there that are flying around. So I think this is, and like DQ and AP, they said, man, we played against you for years, but it's fun being on the same team and seeing how you interact with guys and how you are on the field and like big moments in the games. And so I'm sure, I hope that that's what they meant, is that they just see me in certain moments of the games and how I am with Bloor, Revo, Tyler, all the guys. So yeah, that's my hope at least.
Yeah, and I guess I should say too, because like you're competing every time you punt. Because if you're having a few bad games in a row, that's where the competition comes in. It seems like these guys are like, hey, they will look for people not in just summarily dismiss people that way, but they will be like always goes like, how can you improve the team? You know, so
Yeah.
I wasn't sure like if it's like, hey, we're going to put in more ping pong games because you always win those. But I was going to ask you too, and I'm going to get into some other stuff too. But what are some of the little details in the building that are just different, and not just because of Dan Quinn, but it's also what Josh Harris has done? What are some little details that maybe aren't talked about enough that make a difference to you guys?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things in the building would be, um, I know it sounds funny, but just how willing DQ and AP are to listen to like something that we'll say. Or it's just like, like, and this is just kind of like, for example, but it'd be like, hey DQ, like training camp, we're here all day. Like, could we get a couple more couches or recliners or something like that. And I quote, he would like if it's within reason and something that he sees, man, this will benefit the guys, is what the guys want. He'll literally just reply with done. Where it's like, wow, all right, sweet. And whenever we were doing training camp here, we came back and Mr. Harris, AP, DQ had this whole players lounge renovated, and we had some TVs up. Guys could chill on couches. You had a tired bookshelf, and guys could put books up. We have a great guy in the building, Dylan, who does every Saturday, does a lot of personal things for us, and he's just special guy in a special role. But like he'll throw books up, encourage us, and so it's little things like that where it's things that are going to benefit the guys, and even just things that guys want, like for a reasonable cause or a reasonable reason. He'll just done. We'll do it. And so it's that. And what's special about too is it's even our families. Like if something pops up at practice or at the facility or at the games that involves like our wives, kids, parents, that's another one. It's just like done. We'll get it figured out. So
When you have those like the lounge and all that, and I know there's been stuff there before, not quite to this extent, obviously. What difference does that make in building the camaraderie in that team?
what's that again? I'm sorry you cut out
So
on me.
when you have like all, you add the players lounge, you do all this stuff, and
Oh
obviously
yeah.
there've been things there before, just not to this extent, but how much does that help foster the camaraderie that you guys had last year?
Yeah, that's the stuff. That is the stuff that I don't know that you couldn't like pinpoint that shows up on like the wins and loss column. There's a lot of things that go into a win and a loss. I could guarantee it doesn't hurt. Like it only helps. And so, like when guys are sitting there and we're just getting to take a load off, or guys are playing Xbox, or guys are just having a good chat, talking families, like things like that. It is just it has been the facilities being built to just 24/7 build camaraderie, build a bond, build a trust within one another, within the organization. And so I think it's pretty evident if you get to spend a season there.
How different, like, and why do you think it was so different with I mean, obviously a very new team, like you said, a lot of turnover, new staff and all that, but that's as close a team as I've covered in my
Yeah,
time here.
yeah.
Why do you think it was that close?
Well, I think that DQ. So this is, and now granted, you're asking a veteran player who's
Right.
like I'd only made the playoffs twice up to this point. Played on some good teams that just barely missed out on the playoffs, had some rough years, kind of been all over the map. I think that DQ's humble approach of full send competitiveness into every single game, hyper focused on what we do, made it so free to go play. At no point did he ever get up there and be like, we're going to go beat this team by 30. We're going to beat this team by 2 scores. He used to, I love his line. He always says, he's like, I don't care if it's 4 quarters, 5 quarters, or if it goes all the way to the parking lot. We're just going to keep fighting the whole time. And that frees you up as a player to like not have an expectancy other than the play right in front of you and to just cut it loose. And it's very empowering. And so I don't think it's any accident. And now it is not like that mindset, like that marriage of that mindset, and then how AP is willing to go out and pinpoint guys and bring guys in to build like a roster the way that he did. And like you look around and you see why guys are close, and like you see, like I used to love listening to Jaden and Bobby Wagner
Yes.
argue over who the best hip hop guys were in the sauna. And I couldn't care less about the argument, but I was like Creed from The Office. I was loving the debate. So like it was just
Yes.
it was it was it was things like that. The great minds
You had a
battling it out.
you had a front row seat to that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That was great. But it is funny because like those two, I also felt like just in being there because of Jaden's stature on offense and Bobby's stature on defense, that their relationship really kind of brought a lot of that together because you could have had a clashing of that, but it
Oh
was
yeah.
rather it was a there was a definite embracing of it by both sides. I mean, they get along obviously very well, but how important
Yeah.
is it when you have Jaden and Bobby getting along like that just to the rest of the team because of who they are and what they mean to this franchise?
Yeah, that's a that I think that there's three people that get the credit for that at least initially, and that's Jaden, Bobby, and AP.
Mhm.
So like I'm fortunate to get to play with a first ballot, arguably one of the greatest of all time Hall of Fame linebackers in Bobby Wagner. That dude talks to everybody, gives everybody the time of day, is constantly in the weight room, constantly in the training room, the cold tub. Like he is just he's just a guy. He is just a NFL player and then just plays better than just about everybody else. And then Jaden comes in as a rookie and has every excuse. This is even before he started torching everybody. This is like just when he shows up. He has every excuse to just be a bad dude and like be entitled to oh hey look like I'm second overall pick like look at me like let's turn this whole thing around whatever and he talks to everybody. He gives everybody the time of day. He is humble. He loves messing around with everybody, and the son of a gun can play some football. And so, like for Adam, obviously, to vet those personalities, those guys, seek that out, bring it in together. You had your biggest superstars on both sides of the ball, and they approach life basically the same way with a humble approach and just loving where they're being, and just a whole lot of contentment about them. That's what made that special, in my opinion.
And it's funny because I was going to bring up Jeremy Reeves too. I think one of the guys that he was most excited to have was Nick Bellore
Oh
because he could
yeah,
have he could have that other guy who could talk special teams at a PhD level. You
oh
know,
yeah, yeah. Those dudes they could write a university course on how to play special teams. Those guys those guys are cheat codes, man. I'm very thankful they're on my side.
the other thing is too, you had to go endure some personal stuff with you guys adopted a boy,
Yeah.
and then what happened? Can you just talk what happened? I think it was starting in what, December or
Mhm.
January?
Yeah.
What can you just walk through what happened there?
Yeah, so we adopted our beautiful little baby boy Brooks, and that adoption became official just before Christmas. So, arguably one of the best Christmas presents ever. And through the adoption process, we had learned that he was born with a heart defect, and we knew that he was eventually going to have heart surgery. And just such an incredible story, and we just had so many people in the neighborhood, friends, family from our church, and people constantly helping, people constantly praying, and sadly he had to have basically an emergency heart surgery where he had a couple things pop up that the doctors were really worried about. And my wife, so from the time of it was just after we clinched. So right after that Atlanta Falcons game. And then before we go play Dallas and stuff like that, my wife spent 17 days in the hospital in the ICU with the Brooks man while he had the heart surgery and then recovered. And he came out of the hospital. He came home from the hospital, and I could double check my math on it, but I'm pretty sure it's the Friday before the Detroit Lions game. And what was awesome was the hospital he was in was filled with a bunch of Commanders fans. And so all the doctors and nurses, one of the doctors even had my jersey, which was kind of crazy. And so it was pretty like a fun, like they made that experience so special in the time of it being so, scary for our family. And just can't say enough about our family and friends while while I'm gone at practice, and we had family here, friends here, DQ and AP. They told me the days that we had punt. They were like, "Hey, you just like we don't care if you come in and punt or not punt, and then just get the heck out of here. Go be with Bree and Brooks." And every single day, texts. Mr. Harris, Mr. Rails, everybody was texting and asking. It was just such a such a loving memory, like scary as all get out. Don't ever want to do it again, but we have such a fond memory of how everybody else made us feel, including and especially some of the Commanders organization.
How do you keep your wits about you at that time when you have a son going through that? Like when you have these important games, obviously they're games, but it's your job.
Yeah.
And yet you have this, your son, you're in the hospital like that. Like, how hard was it to maintain
Yeah.
anything? Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine how hard that would have been.
Yeah, so and not necessarily to an unhealthy level, but compartmentalization is a beautiful thing. And and for me, like the most important thing in my life is my faith and my family and football. And so when you have this mindset of good or bad, wherever you are at, you're going all in. And so for me, I don't know how I would have done if it was not to belittle a preseason game. I don't know how I would have been during the
Right.
preseason and the preseason games, but because it was the utmost important games, like win or go home playoff NFL football, you had no other option. And I think because of how, Coach Izzo, DQ, AP, everybody was like, man, get little man and mama taken care of, and then like get your rest and come. Like it was such I never felt pressured. And my like God bless my wife, Bree, the whole time was like, are you sleeping okay? Like, how are you doing? You guys are getting ready to go to Tampa, play a road. You've never had a road playoff game this year, and so it was definitely did not do it by myself, but it was two very important things, and just in the moment, just trying to go back and forth and compartmentalize as best as I could.
Because like being around you, never would have guessed that there was this some serious situation going on. And I think that's part of you go back to your faith. You've always had that, you've
Yeah.
always expressed that, but you've always lived it. And it's so, but it is like interesting how you could just be that way and how hard that must be. And you have other kids at home too that you got to take care of.
That was the part. Yeah. One, thank you. I really appreciate that compliment. I promise you, I was able to do it because at no point did I feel like I was doing it by myself.
Mhm.
And that was the older three. We call them the big three now, but like the big three at home, that was a part that snuck up on us. It wasn't at all like we forgot about the kids. Like we knew
Right.
they were there, but I would go from the hospital right to football and then sometimes straight back to the hospital. And then, the big three are going two, maybe sometimes 2.5, 3 days without seeing mom or dad. And they love grandma and they love auntie and they love friends. But at some point, you just want your
Right.
folks. So, man, it was tough. But Bo, like if there was any big consolation, Bo got to take the train up with Bree to Philly and come to an NFC championship game, and came up with my sister-in-law. So it was a lot of really great memories in there in the midst of some scary times.
And how's he doing now?
He is doing great, John. Thank you for asking. He is he's got one of those helmets on to kind of fix a little bit of the crooked
Yeah.
head, you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? So we're
Understand.
talking about maybe throwing some Commanders decals on there and all strapped up. But man, he is doing great, and everything, all of his checkups after surgeries and stuff have been awesome. So we're back to just routine once every 6 months, getting his heart checked out, and but man, he is doing great. Thank you for asking.
I think it's pretty cool that you already had three kids and you wanted to adopt another one. I think it's
Yeah,
pretty.
that was something my best friend growing up was adopted, and then Bree has just always wanted to adopt. So before we even got married, we kind of wanted to adopt just separately. And so then once we got married, we've always said it wasn't a matter of if, it was just kind of when. And we talked about that a long time, and we decided that after we were done, like having three of our own, like biologically, we wanted to bring another one in. And when we found out it was a boy, because we didn't care, we were just, hey, whatever we get matched up with. And so the bowman was really excited. He kept screaming, "It's 2-2! It's 2-2!" Because now we got two boys and two girls. So yeah.
That's and then here's the other thing too, and you work on your faith, but like this Brooks is lucky to be placed with someone who you would in your situation the to afford what this is, and not just have to afford it, but the support that came with that.
Yeah, thank you, man. That is yeah, there's that everybody's got a lot of different strengths out there that they have in their lives, and we that is one thing, we're very fortunate to be part of a great family. And it has been special to just see him getting roped right in with all the other cousins and grandma and grandpa and everything like that. It is super cool to see.
Just a couple more then with that contract, be going through that situation. You're in your mid 30s, young to me, but you know the NFL. So it's
Yeah.
but do you ever does retirement ever creep into your head at this point, or are you just like, hey, I can still do this at a high level? That's years down the road.
Yeah, I honestly I think it's a little both. At this point, you have to understand, and you're asking me this question, so I'm gonna answer it
Right.
like how that's personal to me.
Yeah.
I am so fortunate that now this is going to be year 12 with the same franchise in the same area with all of these memories. And so probably for the last 3, 4, 5 years, it has just been nothing but just awesome icing on the cake of, that's like what, and I'd love to tell you maybe if I run into you at Bear Chase or just one
There you
time in the
go.
locker room, like, dude, I get one career and, like guys like you and like Grant and Danny, it's made it so fun and so special for me. And like, you guys have been a big part of that where like, one day my career will be done playing ball. And so like I have just tried to milk every minute of it. And there's this awesome one year deal benefit for veteran players and for the team.
Right.
And when AP first reached out to my agent about it, and she sent it over, I was like, oh man, this is kind of cool. This is like a win-win. And she said, yeah, it really is. And I kind of wanted to see, hey, are we doing 2 or 3 more just so I could have something in my head? But now I really love the freedom of one year and knowing that it could just be one year a few times or one
Right.
year this year. There's always going to be uncertainty, but I see a whole lot more freedom of just one year. Let's cut it loose and go win a Super Bowl, and then we'll talk about retirement stuff at Bear Chase another time.
There you go. And I do remember you because you talk about like embracing your career and what you are and all that. I do remember your first game here. I think it was in Dallas, right? Was it in Dallas?
When I played here,
Yeah, your first game with Washington, but it was
oh yeah, in Houston,
oh, it was Houston, but you
yeah,
guys lost.
we lost.
But I remember how happy you were in the locker room because you got, you know what I mean? You did what you did. And it's like, it was just like,
That's
it was such a refreshing thing, but it's like everybody else is kind of downcast and you're like, man, it was so cool to be out
oh
there. But
yeah. Looking
but it was
back,
such a genuine feeling and it was so cool, but it was you. It was
yeah,
so,
looking back, knowing how veterans feel now, I didn't handle that the best, so they
but
probably. I
it was
appreciate them
great.
getting. Yeah, they didn't shove me into the locker or anything like that. But yeah, and that's why for a while I was pretty embarrassed at how I got into the NFL because you see a lot of the draft picks and the guys that are highly sought after, and that I had a little chip on my shoulder because of that and was pretty. It's like some tough details to come to terms with. But now as the career has gone on, it's easier to make it more and more grateful for everything you get to be a part of.
I think it was fantastic because it speaks exactly to who you are and why you like because you embrace the moments. And I think that's like not enough people do that. And it's
Thank you, man.
okay. It's okay to do that. It's just it was different. It was refreshing. So
Yeah,
last thing then, because you come from an athletic family, and
yeah.
not just your family, but in-laws and all that.
Oh yeah.
What's the most competitive that it gets during like when you're all together and what game maybe is the most competitive what that leads to that the most either debate competitiveness whatever.
Yes, it is zero without question. It is sand volleyball. So Bree, my wife, is from Southern California, and so when we all get out there, well, especially they all married a bunch of landlocked dudes from Oklahoma. So when we were all out there as a family, we go out and we go Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, and we play in sand volleyball. And not just the competitiveness, like playing against each other. It's if you screw up, like worried about somebody on your own team, just be like, what are you doing? And so it is, but yeah, it is. I got so my brother-in-law Bryce, who plays with the Brewers, he's just a freak athlete. But then two of the other sisters married great college athletes from Oklahoma, and so it is, man. If you're keeping score in this family, you better bring it. It doesn't matter if it's a Yahtzee or sand volleyball; it's going down.
That's fantastic. Tress,
Yeah,
you're the absolute best. I'm glad you're back because it's just locker room would not be the same if you were not in there. And I'm glad,
I
it's like
appreciate
it's funny because people will tell me like, "Oh, I'm happy you get to cover something really good." I'm like, "I'm happy you guys like you because you've been here the longest, but guys who
it.
have been here a while, Jeremy, Terry, like
Yeah,
that you finally have something like this where it's just a good situation. And
I
you guys,
appreciate that, man.
and you have a quarterback in Jaden that
Woo!
he's not bad.
He is not bad. That's one of my favorite things to do. Like when he makes some of those plays or has one of those drives and he comes off the field, I'll just be like, "Hey, man, you are fun to watch. Like that is, I like standing on the sideline, and I did stand on the sideline a lot this year, but
Well,
I just
it's
always
always,
thought you're fun to watch, man.
well, it's listen, if you're getting off the field just to hold on extra points, that's not a bad gig. So,
Not too bad.
Tress, thank you very much, man.
Yeah, you got it, buddy. Good talking with you.
Thanks. Yeah, awesome talking to you. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Tress for joining me, and thank you, as always, for tuning in. I'll be back on Tuesday talking about the NFL draft, looking at the 29th pick with ESPN's Matt Miller. I'll talk to you next time.